Are there aspects of those early days that you now miss when you were playing to small houses in folk clubs in New York, and now you're playing to huge audiences, anything from 2,000 to 10,000 as it was at the Royal Albert Hall? That, yeah.
There are things I miss about it, although, of course, in those days, I was waiting for the days when I had a record contract so I could quit my day job. I never really had a time there where I was completely independent and self-sufficient. I went straight from being a receptionist to having a record contract to going on the road and touring. Yeah, there are some things I miss about it and other things I don't miss at all.
So now you can actually concentrate on what you want to do most.
Well, I had thought it would be that way, but instead it turns out I take planes, you know, I do telephone interviews, and I, you know, have my picture taken, and I spend a lot of time doing that. But at the same time, I'm learning a lot, and I'm certainly, you know, yeah, I'm not a receptionist. Now I get to talk about things that I like to talk about with, you know, and I get to express myself more often.
On a few occasions, you've used Queen or Soldier as analogies in your songs. What is it about them that you associate with or you find so useful in your songwriting?
Well, I've noticed that these things also recur. I sometimes wonder myself what it is about them that I find interesting. The figure of the Queen is interesting to me because I think with the song The Queen and the Soldier, I had wanted to write about a woman in power, which, of course, in America we don't have queens, but you don't also have like a figurehead of a woman in power, really. There's no sort of similarity. There's you know, you can't say a teacher or a mother, or that's not quite what I had in mind. I wanted to write about a woman who had a sense of power and a sense of authority and how someone could misuse it. And this particular character, I mean, it just seemed very clear to me. I felt as if I knew this person. Somehow I knew this woman and her character. I also felt like I knew the character of the soldier, who was someone who is sort of sacrificed in the line of duty. And this is also something that is interesting to me, how people put on uniforms and they put on their public guises, and sometimes their private selves are sacrificed in that way. I mean, it's a lot to, I'm not sure I understand myself what it is about these figures that are interesting to me, but it's like a shorthand. It's a symbol of something that I'm still not, obviously if I knew exactly what it was, I probably wouldn't need to write about it. But,
and do you identify with Marlene Dietrich?
Yeah. I think that was a little bit more wishful thinking. I think there's a lot of things about her character that I think are terrific. You know, I like her first of all, the feeling that she's very cool, that she's very sensual, but she isn't cheap. You know, that was the main thing I liked about her was her grace. You know, she always seemed to pull herself through any situation with a sense of grace and a kind of take it or leave it sort of attitude. You couldn't imagine her sort of groveling or you know, desperate for attention. She just always seemed to sort of, it was fine with her if it was there, but she always retained her dignity.
Well, you're a solo performer, but now you have a backing band. Do you feel connected to this band, or do you still feel as though you're a solo performer with a backing band?
I feel connected to the band, which was why I wanted to form a band to begin with. I didn't want to just have sort of sidemen who are going to do what I pay them to do and then not care about it once they went home. You know, I wanted them to really participate and be involved in it. Of course, I mean, there's a problem with working with any group of people in that it's still my show, and I still define the band. I still have to direct everybody and say, well, that's no good, and you know, or this is terrific, or I'm thinking more along these lines, and I have to make them bend and conform to my state of mind, and sometimes they rebel against it, or sometimes yeah, everybody wants to be an individual, nobody wants to be just a piece of somebody else's puzzle. You know, once in a while they complain and say, well, you know, we'd like to have a life other than the Suzanne Vega experience, too, you know, and I think about that, and I think, well, yeah, I would like to do that also, actually, but I can't, because, you know, this is my job now, is to be myself, whereas they have that option. They can always take it or leave it. But yeah, it's some of both. They're definitely involved, but to some degree I'm still the leader and I'm still the boss.
Are you enjoying touring?
There are days where I really love it and days where I hate it. You know, there's days where I feel really tired and want to go home, and other days where I feel terrific and I'm happy to see other parts of the world that I wouldn't ordinarily get to see.
Your images seem to me to be very concise. Do they translate fairly easily, you know, to lyrics?
To lyrics. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. It's funny, I feel like with all my questions, you're asking me questions and I keep saying yes and no. It depends on how clear the image is when I first get a hold of it. I mean, sometimes the image isn't clear and then I have to like hone in on it. In Ironbound, I definitely had a set of images in mind that I wasn't sure if I actually caught. I'm still not sure how much of that song that I had in my mind hasn't come out onto the paper. Other songs just come out like that. Like Small Blue Thing was, I think I wrote it in about a day or so, and I thought it was a cute song, and I thought it was a cute idea. I didn't expect to get, for a while everyone was calling it sort of my signature song, which I was a little taken aback with, but that's because the image was complete, you know, and it really depends on the image that I'm working with. Some of the images just present themselves right there, and the language fits in perfectly, and the music seems to follow. Other times it takes, you know, a whole year of struggling with it, and then at the end you're still not sure if you really got it. So it depends. With each song it's different.
You worked with Philip Glass some time ago on his album Songs from Liquid Days. How did that collaboration come about?
Well, he'd had this list of songwriters that he was going to work with, David Byrne and Laurie Anderson and Paul Simon. He was looking for a fourth one, someone who wasn't as well known as the others, and someone from A&M, I think, recommended me, and he came down to hear me sing at Folk City. And I came to his house and showed him my notebook full of stuff, and he picked two songs that he felt worked best together. And he was really good to work with. He's very funny and very sort of, he's a bit eccentric as you would expect him to be, but he's also very funny, and I really admire the way he works, because it's very spontaneous and very unexpected.
I read that you're a Buddhist. What sort of Buddhism do you practice?
Well, I'm a Nichiren Shoshu Buddhist, so that means that I chant, I do morning and evening prayers, and I chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo in the morning and in the evening. And it's a form of Buddhism that's been practiced in this form for about 700 years, and it originated in Japan, and there's many different organizations in all the different countries that also, you know, that are for the practice of this Buddhism. So, and the practice of it, you can chant for anything that you want to in your daily life, whether it's spiritual things or material things, or and there's no sort of dress code, or I can eat anything I want to, or smoke or drink if I want, or you know, ultimately you learn through chanting what things create value in your life and what truly makes you happy. So most people find that they give things up. You know, if you have a drug problem, you can chant about it, and it does eventually change your life and change your behavior. And I've been practicing it for 12 years with my family.
That's wonderful. And yeah, it's fantastic.
Thank you.
So does that have anything to do with you being so calm and so seem to be sort of self-assured?
Well, let's see. I think chanting has definitely helped my confidence. I mean, I think I'm basically a shy person, and I'm sort of introspective and introverted. I think I would be that way whether or not I was a Buddhist. I've been that way since I was 6 years old, as far as I remember. But yeah, I think being a Buddhist has definitely changed my life in some ways. You know, it's kept me from being self-destructive, which I think I was rather self-destructive as a teenager. It's certainly given me a lot more empathy for other people. Because I think also when I was a teenager I felt that I was probably suffering more than everyone else in the world, you know, and I think it's a very adolescent feeling, but it's a very true feeling when you're feeling it. So hearing other people's experiences and seeing this Buddhism affect other people's lives is really, it makes me feel much more connected to people in general than I would have if I were not practicing. I think I'd be a much more isolated person.
I think there might be a few converts. Thank you very much, Suzanne, for talking to me.
Thank you.